Good morning! Wow, this place is a lot less spooky in the daytime. There's a lot of park rangers running around. No mooing of scary cows in the night. That's good. Feeling a little rough, you know. Pretty excited to sleep in bed tonight. So I have to make it to Casper to make that happen. So, we got South Pass City, abandoned mines, and I think just a short drive to Casper, and we'll say hi to everybody. Okay, see you soon. All right, y'all. So here is the plan for now, because Ghost Town don't open up for another hour. I know, Ghost Town's got hours. So we're gonna go check out this trail, and hopefully we're gonna talk to somebody doing this, the Continental Divide Trail. So the Continental Divide, we'll talk about later, but it's what splits the Rocky Mountains east and west. There's like a trail that goes down it. This lady's daughter is walking it all the way from Canada to Mexico, which is just crazy. I mean, the food gets better along the way. I mean, there's this whole start in Canada food and go all the way to Mexico. As you go down, the food improves until you get to Mexico, where the food's the best. So, hopefully we'll talk to her. In the meantime, I think there's some abandoned mine equipment and some abandoned tunnels we're going to go check out. We're going to talk on this camera too. It made quartz. So that quartz veins carried along with it all sorts of goodies, including gold. So miners would find these traces. They'd be like, oh, look at that ridgy type thing and this valley type thing. Chances of us finding something good pretty high around here. And that's what they did. Then they'd make little test mines, find some good stuff, and then find those veins of gold where it got squeezed through by geological pressures. But man, the living out here, rough. Look at this thing. We're gonna get around to it. This was somebody's house. That. Some slap, oh, deer just ran by. Oh, deer's right there. Hello, deer. Goodbye, running deer. Some slapped iron sheets on some old wood. Because if you look, here's one thing to think about. There's not a lot of trees. Like, we're in a river basin, so we've got more than anywhere else. But do you see any trees that you could use for timber? All that's just scrub tree. The wood's like this thick. There's a couple of trees out there, but once you got through those, what else are you building with? And then what are you heating your house with at night? That's good. I'll just cough all over the camera. Carefully pick my way through here. And look at this crazy thing. It's just sheet metal. It's just sheet metal riveted together. Can we get to the door? Oh yeah, we're not gonna go in because I don't want this thing to fall apart with me in it. Just look, that was his shelf. This is the real deal, y'all. This is 1860s to 1920s. Look, his frying pan. His frying pan just sitting there. I probably should spit out my gum if I'm talking. Can we see anything else? Any other artifacts? No, that just blows my mind. 100 years ago, some dude was frying up eggs in this tiny little cabin. That was his whole world. Look at this. This is it. His whole world right here. And look what got drug outside. That's his bed. That's what's left of the mattress. What else we got? Some kind of maybe oil can? Man, look at this one. His stove. mean, look at this little piece of metal right here. This would have been for cooking, for heating his house. I mean, yeah, it looks nice now, but by winter, there's going to be more snow than sagebrush. It's going to be way up there. And he's going to have to burn whatever he's got to keep himself from freezing to death. An actual thing that could happen out here. An actual thing that did happen out here. And this little piece of steel is what's keeping him between life and death. It's crazy. I hope this guy found his fortune. That's what I hope. One more bit before I go. This is Bertha. Bertha would have been 79 in this video. Bertha was born in Switzerland in 1869. Came to Wyoming, got married, lived here, until she died in 1952. And what was she doing until then? Working the mining claims. Trying to get that gold. Man, what a life. I mean, this one doesn't even have the metal on the side. Ha! I know why. We found the most important place, the outhouse. Here's the crazy thing. We about to go into the outhouse. And we're going to look down the hole. I know, it's crazy. But this was the equivalent of the trash dump. So if people wanted to throw away half-broken things, old bottles, whatever, like the place to find old treasure. Here, let's go look. We're also being super careful because if it shifted, I really don't want to go tumbling into a latrine. No, 2 holes. Looks like it's plugged up, so somebody's already been through and mined it. There's some newspaper on the wall. What's next door here? I wonder if I can carefully... No. All right, we're going to go check out the Flood and Hindle Arastra. Arastra? I don't know what an Arastra is. Do they play Jamaican music? An Arastafarian? I know Mario's laughing at that joke. All right. We found it. Look at this thing. Whoa, it's huge and it's new. I think somebody's still working this. Look, we've got the spade pick, these buckets. Whoa. All right, got to get the other camera out. Yeah. Somebody has put some work into rebuilding this thing. So, we're going to talk about making some money. There's gold trapped in the rocks, but you can't just sit there with a hammer all day smashing at rocks because you'll get tired and you won't be very effective at it. So what they would do is they would divert water from the creek. The water goes down this wooden spillway and hits this giant wagon wheel. The wagon wheel turns, so we can see it's going to spin. That turns that thing. The pegs in that turn the pegs in this. The pegs in this turn this giant wooden piece that goes down into this star-shaped tub. Rocks and ore and gravel would be put into here, and then these giant rocks would drag along and just smash it up. It's basically a super slow, super dull blender. But just these rocks sitting there grinding all day until you got something that you could actually pan out. You can actually see there's a little sluice right here with some fresh stuff in it. So we know somebody's been working this. This stuff would have just been the rock mash, and the heavy gold would have settled to the bottom. Let's see if we can get a better view. Ooh, another deer coming towards us. Hello, deer. So I talk about some of those clues, this rocky thing just sticking out of the ground. You can kind of see how there's some of those dirty dish plates stacked, and that they were all pushed up and then turned to the side just by geological forces. This wasn't put here by nature. This was somebody else. Look how wide it is. And look where it goes. Let's see if we can scamper our way in there. Again, I know it's hard to imagine. That would be your entrance to work. This is a few months labor to here. And then your big goal, smash your way into that mountain by hand. And he made it pretty far. They say that it's about 50 feet deep. So 50 feet that way, you know, approximately from the front door of LevelUp to the back of the pool. So that far by hand, looking for gold. And then we'd take those rocks, all the things that he smashed up, and would take them to that mill, have them ground down, pay him a little tax, and take home whatever was left. The bummer for this dude, as we climb out of this mine shaft, nice, is that there, no, that was bad times, is that there never was a claim of minerals here. He thought they were in there. Everybody else around him was getting rich, and there's no evidence that he got more than a few sprinkles. Your whole life smashing at a mine, a few sprinkles of dirt. Wow, look at these snakes. So this dude already had a ton of money, and he knew that these mines were being underworked, because you saw how crazy beat up that mill was. So he hired these two punks to go around buying up claims to make it look like, I'm just some poor schmuck buying it. And then our cool dude back there, who was working that mine, the shaft we were in, as soon as he forgot to file his paperwork, these two dudes swept up and grabbed it. Greed, man. It's greed. There's some gold mining evidence. That is a big old chunk of marble. Probably got some other goodies running through it. You can actually see little veins of other stuff that have pushed through. Yeah, it's even got like a, ooh yeah, little chippy bits. But if we found marble, it means we're close to quartz. If we found quartz, it means we're close to gold. You can see, oh, it's here. What do we got? Oh yeah. Maybe some little gold flecks. Maybe my camera will stay in focus. There we go. It's a little golden banana chip. Maybe some tiny, tiny little sparkles. I'm not sure. But there's a reason we're not going to be taken from here. One, it's a state park, not Bureau of Land Management. So I can't just go hauling away stuff. And two, there are still active claims out here. So the last thing I want to do is go pluck somebody's claim, where then the shotgun would be the next answer. So we talked a little bit about how few trees there are. I mean, we've got some more here, but, you know, we're not trying to use them to build our houses or heat our homes. But here's one thing they would use. So if you didn't have a lot of trees to build your house, but you needed something durable and fireproof, your option was clay bricks. This is what's left of the clay brick forge that they had here. So they would try to gather up clay from the river basin, and you'd think, there's tons of clay. There wasn't tons of clay. There was a fine amount of clay, but not an unlimited let's build brick houses amount of clay. They would put it into wooden boxes, let it dry, and then put it into this little spot right here. Put it right in there. And fire it for a couple of days until it's hard enough to withstand water and heat and all that. What's really interesting here is how many cans are here. I don't know how old these cans are. Canning was... Oh, yeah, check it out. There's the back of the thing. This would be the, like, flue pipe or oxygen intake so that they could get air to the fire to fire the clay. There are so many cans here. Old cans. Old bottles. Let me flip it around. I don't want to step on any of this stuff, but look, there's some old brick. Old cans. Carefully, carefully. Old bottles. Just a snapshot here, frozen in time. The way we can tell that these are old cans, like this was probably a soda can, are those two puncture marks. So the way we can tell these are old, first is the puncture marks. They would take this tool and chunk into the cans. But the other thing we can tell is, look, they're rusty. Soda cans don't rust because modern soda cans are made out of aluminum. And aluminum just doesn't oxidize the same way. But until we got into modern recycling, aluminum was at one point more expensive than gold because it's hard to get out of the ground. It's hard to get out of the rock. But once you have it made and set up, it's fairly easy to melt and redo. But before that happened, you just had steel cans. Steel cans and a bit of an old bottle. There's what looks like a coffee can there. That might have been an aluminum lid, right? Right here. So this would have been more modern. I don't know how modern is modern. We're going to have to find somebody who knows, but look at that. Hanging out all day, fire and bricks. All right, some of these cans aren't that ancient. Here's a Coors can. Let's see what kind of top it has. Oh, man. This Coors can was never opened. There's some little punctures. Maybe it was. Brood weight. I wonder if we can figure out later how old this is. Coors started in Denver. People would have taken it across the prairie, but probably not in glass bottle and metal cans like that. It probably still would have been glass bottles. All right. Remember those swindlers who stole the claim? Well, they also made this. This is a stamp mill. Material loaded up in the top, comes down the sluice, and then, let's get around to it. Boom! These giant hammers would smash it all to bits, and then the junk would all come down here. And the reason it's tiered like this is so as it comes down, as it's washed down, you can start to see the gold come out of here. This is a big old piece of equipment. This is a big old piece. We got the wheel there. This is like the inside of an engine. We're talking about the same kind of up and down motion that the inside of your car has, except instead of exploding the gas and driving a thing that would go forward, the energy would go down into these rocks, which then would be crushed, come down this spillway here. We can see that compared to that big bucket we saw earlier, like this is a much bigger hopper. And they probably would have had some kind of like ramp or loading system to get rock in here so it could just slide on down. A lot more efficient, a lot more complicated. If we're talking about trying to get stuff out here, imagine trying to get replacement parts for this in the middle of winter. It ain't happening. With the other one, at least, is if the grinding rock breaks down, you get a new rock. If one of these piston shafts breaks down, you're screwed. All right, in this old barn, we've got a little bit more of a modern setup. Like I said, people are still working out here. So this probably is electric powered. You can see a couple of belts. You got the pit right there for grinding stuff. You got some belts for sorting. That's probably a little stamp mill back there. I really don't want to go trespassing in this dude's place. There looks like there's probably a gas generator back there, so that's what's probably powering all this stuff. I'm just glad he left the window open. All right, I haven't had a shower yet today, but luckily, nature always provides a way. I found the origin of Axe body spray. Let's look right here. Oh yeah. We're just gonna take a little chunk-a-do of that. Now I'm smelling better. Thinking about time. Look at this tree stump. I counted it, and there's 120 rings between here and the outside edge. So probably 140 if we count the middle that's missing now. Which means that this was around in 1880 is when this little tree would have sprouted up. And you can see it had good years and bad because there's thicker rings. Ooh, there we go. Thicker rings where things were good and there's plenty of water, and thinner rings where things were bad. So it looks like a little bit of bone. That's not unsettling. That's cool. But it's crazy to think this big old tree stump would have been the size of, let's find something scraggly. This, back when those miners were out here, and it just sat there observing it, watching this valley basically change and stay the same through its whole life. Pretty crazy that a tree stump got to watch the whole thing go down. All right, y'all, now we have a little bit more of a daytime view. Much easier to see than at night. Let's go take a tour. Oh yeah, everything's open now too. Actually, I'm going to re-record this. This is the Tibbles Canyon. How come I can't say this word? Tibbles. Cabin. Tibbles Cabin. It ain't that hard to say. Tiny little place run by the mine manager. So this was a pretty fancy house. Of course, with all the bears and bobcats, gotta have your shotgun over the door. See that brick wall back there? That's not a brick wall. That's the inside of the mountain. So, you got that nice little dining room there, but that was just the second room, which was rented out to other people. But if we come around outside, that's it. So to make extra space without having to use a whole lot more like lumber or brick, because we saw how rare that stuff was, what they would do is just carve their way inside the mountain. I mean, they already had good mountain carving experience. But let's go back in here. Like, this was another room. This was just another place where you would hang out. We can actually see the other side. Oh, that's cool. So, this is pretty nice. You had that front room, and now you've got this like big old kitchen, nice dining room. You can see all the newspaper on the wall. They use that to fill up all the little cracks to keep the wind from just whistling through here. Yeah, this will just be your back room. Here we are. Let's go in and have something. So after a long day of mining, this is where you're hanging out. This is the level up of South Pass City. You got all sorts of stuff. So, hey, remember that beer can that I found? Clearly, they just had it in bottles, so those cans have to be older. What else we got? Some pictures. A billy club in case anybody gets out of line. All right, where are we heading next? Let's see. Next up, we've got this big building here. This one looks like it's under renovation. I have a feeling that they did not have air purifiers, fire extinguishers, and vacuums. I mean, it is the general store. It is the general store. But I just have a feeling vacuums were not the high priority back in the day. So if you wanted to make real money, forget digging in the dirt all day. You want it to be a prospector. A prospector and a miner are different things. A prospector is the person who finds where the gold is going to be. Now we kind of talked about that with the layers of the rock, but they would look for things like the color of the rock, the general layout of the valley, like all these different factors. And what they would do is they would take some of it and try to get some gold out of it. And if that didn't work, they would take a chunk of rock, grind it up. So using charcoal and baking soda, you would cook this sample of rock, and every time some of those minerals would just come out, and you'd be left with this pellet. And this pellet would be a color that would tell you what was in there. So if you got like a rusty red pellet when you were done cooking this rock sample down, you knew that that was magnetite, and if there's magnetite in the rock, that means there's probably gold. So you would then put a claim down and then sell that claim to a miner. The miner would do all the work of getting all the gold out of there. But shoot, all you had to do is say, here's what I found, here's the science behind it, why don't you go do all the work? Compared to sitting out here, smashing away at a stamp mill, I would much, much rather just go find the stuff and let them take care of it. All right, y'all. I got a little trouble with the sheriff here, and so we got to figure out what my crime was. Here, I'll let you open it since I got my one hand.
Yeah.
What am I being charged?
You're convicted of riding Mr. Sherlock's hog down Main Street.
I mean, if there's one thing I do, it's probably that. So.
You're good at hog riding, are you?
If I was better, I wouldn't have gotten caught. So, all right.
This is our special cell.
Oh, I get the deluxe prison cell.
That's right. No lights.
That's crazy. Look at this. Woo! All right. Well.
Film me closing the door.
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right. I'll see you in. Bye. I guess I should ask how long am I in prison for?
Well, until your friends get you out, I guess.
Well, look, my friends are good for it, but they're in Portland, so.
We'll let you out.
All right. So,
And so
I just learned from the sheriff.
You misbehave in school.
That's right.
That's right.
So when they decided to not make this the jail anymore, they made it a school.
That's right.
There we are. And then this is some of the original graffiti too? These marks or?
Yes, most
Wow.
likely. And so then I magically, women JP in the United States, Esther Hobart Morris.
Excellent, because we know what state we're in. We're in it's the equality state, right?
Equality
That's
state,
right.
Exactly.
That's
Women
right.
got the vote here in 1870.
Yep.
So they've been voting for 150 years in Wyoming.
So cool. All right, so I'm officially freed.
You're officially free.
The very first justice of the peace let me out.
Pardon for you today.
That's, that I got out at all is a miracle. So, all right. Y'all weren't here to come get me out of jail, but luckily, the justice of the peace let me out. So we can continue our journey, because otherwise I'd be locked up there. Do you see how tiny that prison cell was? There was no window. There was just some bars and a stool. Like, I don't even know where I would go to the bathroom. That's it. That's the jail. Not only was it the jail for South Pass City, it was the county jail. If you were going to get locked up, that was the place. So crazy. We're walking across the other entertainment area. This was the beer gardens. Hang out, have a drink. And beer was a safe beverage because it had a little bit of alcohol in it, so it kept the water clean, and it had a little bit of food in it because beer's got calories. So even though it seems like, wow, there's a lot of drinking going on, there wasn't a lot of safe ways for you to get shelf-stable, clean food. So this is a shout out to Brian. Brian, this would probably be your hangout. We got the gambling hall. We got some poker. Got a nice place to hang. But this is what makes this Brian's place. This is the barber shop. You got your shave kit right in there. You got your shaving chair. But if you weren't out there trying to make that gold, this is where you'd be. This is how you'd make your living. Now, barbers had a lot... Oh, that's got too much glare. Barbers had a lot more responsibility than just shaving a haircut. They were also your dentist. They were your first line of defense when you didn't want to go to the doctor. Like, this was your first stop for health. All right, you punks. I know you're mad about being stuck at home instead of going to school. But look where you could have been. This could have been your place if you were here just 100 years ago. This is it. Here's your desk. Sam, you sit there. Leslie there. Alex there. We'll just fill up this place. And you'd be going here not just for 1 year. Like this would be your school until you're done with school in the area. So, back before iPads, back before computers, back before paper was something used in the classroom, you would use a slate and chalk. And what's crazy is we hear all this stuff today about how are kids going to learn on an iPad, and what if it runs out of battery? There is a complaint from about this time from a school teacher that says, what are kids going to do if they run out of paper? How are they going to just use paper for learning? A slate you can erase. A slate lasts forever. All you got to do is get a piece of chalk and use it. So when we hear about things like not using Wikipedia or not using iPads or not using technology, because what about this and what about that? We just have to remember that 100 years ago, this argument was being made about using rocks on rocks for learning. I think paper's okay. Use your iPad. Enjoy Wikipedia.